Poor girl buys bus fare for stranger, but wait until you see his mind-blowing response. In a busy city buzzing with life, a single small act sparked a whirlpool of mystery and excitement. Emily, a girl with kind eyes and a heart full of hope, found herself standing at a bus stop, her pockets nearly empty. The late afternoon sun bathed everything in a gold hue, casting long shadows that danced playfully across the pavement. Just then, a weary man shuffled up beside her, his clothes tattered and his face drawn with hunger. He glanced at her, those deep-set eyes pleading for help, and with a lump in her throat and trembling hands, she took out her last dollar. The moment she handed it over, the air shifted. He looked at her, a strange spark igniting in his gaze. It felt bigger than mere gratitude, like a promise whispered between their souls. "Thank you," he said, but his voice carried a weight that felt both ominous and thrilling. Just as she turned to leave, something flickered in his expression, a mix of surprise and calculation. Emily walked away, her heart racing, unsure if she should feel proud or afraid. The bus arrived. The hum of the engine was a comfort. Yet, the moment she stepped on, she turned back just in time to see the man disappear into the crowd. Was he just a lost soul? Or was there something more lurking behind his eyes? People shuffled around her, unaware of the tension crackling in the air. Her mind raced. She couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was just the tip of an iceberg. It felt like the start of something big, something that would change everything she thought she knew. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the bus rolled away, a tingle of anticipation gripped her. What was that look in his eyes? What was he planning? Emily's instincts buzzed with urgency. She felt pulled to uncover a secret woven into that fleeting moment. That encounter was just a glimpse of an unfolding mystery that would soon thrust her into a world she never imagined. What had she stumbled into? Would her life ever be the same? Emily's heart raced along with the bus as it tore through the streets, the vibrant surroundings blurring past her. She sank into her seat, straining to shake off the strange encounter. Her mind, however, wouldn't settle. Why had the man looked at her that way? It was a gaze entwined with something deeper, something that sent shivers down her spine. When the bus reached her stop, Emily stumbled out into the crisp air, the sun now dipping lower on the horizon. Shadows stretched across the pavement, twisting and distorting the ordinary scene of busy commuters. She could feel the energy crackling around her, an almost palpable tension coursing through her veins. They were simple casual conflicts, strangers bumping and jostling on their way home, but her thoughts were captured by a more significant dilemma. What was it that awaited her? Suddenly, Emily felt a presence behind her. She spun around, half expecting to see the man again, but all she found was a rush of strangers hurrying past, their faces shuttered. Maybe she was imagining things. Maybe it was just the adrenaline from the earlier encounter. As she walked towards her cozy little apartment, a sudden sense of dread wrapped around her. Were the shadows following her? She picked up her pace, her feet pounding the ground, drowning out the worried whispers in her mind. Somehow she couldn't ignore it, the feeling that something strange was in the air, waiting for her around the next bend. When she reached her building, she unlocked the door and pulled it shut behind her, leaning against it for a moment, gasping for air. Relieved yet shaken, she looked around her small living space, taking in the familiar sight. But everything felt different now, as if the walls themselves were looming with secrets. Just then, a sharp knock echoed through the silence. Emily jolted, her breath catching in her throat, heart pounding in response. Who could it be at this hour? She hesitated, casting a wary glance out the peephole. Her blood ran cold. The tattered man from the bus stop stood outside her door, his expression unreadable. She should have been afraid, yet, oddly, a reluctant curiosity bubbled within her. What could he want? Summoning her courage, she opened the door just a crack. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice trembling. His eyes flickered, a strange intensity radiating from them. You don't know who you helped today, he said slowly, his voice low and enigmatic. But I do. And you're in more danger than you realize. Emily's heart raced again, the stakes suddenly very real. She wanted to slam the door and retreat into her safe space, but she didn't. Instead, something compelled her to stand there, frozen, waiting for an explanation that seemed to hang in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. Please, he added, stepping slightly closer, I need to tell you everything. There are forces at play here, and you just became part of them. A chill ran down her spine. What had she really stumbled into? The mystery deepened, the intrigue thickening like fog around them. The world outside faded away as she faced the man, her heart ready to leap into the unknown. But as he opened his mouth to reveal the secrets hidden behind his haunting gaze, a hidden sound, the echo of a siren, sliced through the heavy air. Both their heads turned sharply toward the sound, hearts racing as the reality that something dangerous was truly coming approached. What whirlwind had she set in motion by giving him her last dollar? What had she become a part of, and would she still be willing to hear his secrets? Emily's breath hitched as the siren wailed closer. The tattered man's eyes darted to the sides, wild and anxious, as if the sound alone had summoned a storm. She could almost feel the danger coiling tighter around them, and the urge to retreat washed over her again. But something deeper rooted her to the spot. Listen to me, he urged, his voice just above a whisper. There is no time. They're coming. I need you to trust me. Trust was a rare currency for Emily. Yet something in his ragged appearance, the desperation clinging to his words, sparked a flicker of belief within her. Who's coming? She stammered, unable to disguise the tremor in her voice. The order, he breathed, glancing back toward the stairwell, where shadows seemed to gather like a rising tide. They've been watching you since that moment on the bus. It's not just about the dollar you gave me. You've tapped into something bigger, something they don't want you involved in. Emily's mind raced. The bus ride, the man's story, how intertwined her life had suddenly become with his. Panic clawed at her throat as images flashed before her faces. Alleyways, shadows lurking just out of sight. Suddenly, this ordinary evening morphed into a labyrinth of fear. They know you're here, the man said, urgency dripping from his every word. We don't have much time. We have to go now. Go where? She gasped. Confusion swirled with dread, emotions colliding like thunder clouds above her head. Anywhere but here. His voice rose, urgent. They've already infiltrated your life. You don't realize it, but they've been watching you. I stole something from them and they think you're connected. Stole what? It was a question that could either unravel the mystery or plunge her deeper into it. The pieces, he muttered, as if sharing a burden he barely understood himself. Keys to a world beyond what you know. They'll kill for it. Emily felt her stomach twist. She was just a girl struggling to get by. How had she become entangled in an ominous plot that stretched beyond her imagination? What pieces could drive someone to murder? Stay close to me, he urged, and stepped through her doorway, a shadow slipping into her dimly lit sanctuary. Trust me. Before she could respond, a sharp sound echoed from the hallway, footsteps, heavy and deliberate. Instinct kicked in and fear ignited her limbs. You can't just barge in like this. She protested, but panic wrapped around her, choking her words. Please, Emily. He hissed, grabbing her arm, his grip firm yet desperate. There is no time. They're coming for us. Emily's heart raced as the footsteps grew louder, closer. She peered through the crack of her open door, glimpsing figures clothed in dark jackets, faces obscured. They moved with purpose, unmistakable predators in search of prey. With a jolt, Emily swung the door wide and pulled the man inside, urgency propelling her forward. What do we do? His eyes locked onto hers, fear igniting his intensity. We need to find a way out, and fast. If they get you, his voice trailed off, leaving an unspoken threat hanging in the air. The world outside was fading, but danger was closing in. Suddenly, the faint glow of Emily's phone lit up, the screen illuminating her anxious expression. A text alert flashed across the screen, and time slowed in that moment. It was from an unknown number, the words stark against the background. Stay where you are. We're coming for you. Terror swelled in her chest. Who were they? And why did they want her? The man gripped her shoulders, his voice a hushed whisper that sent chills racing through her. If they find you, it's over. You need to choose, fight or flee. and the decision dangled heavy in the air, like a pendulum teetering on the edge. What was she really up against? Would she have the strength to confront whatever lay ahead, or would it consume her completely? The silence pressed around them, thick with uncertainty. Emily's heart slammed against her ribcage, a frantic drum urging her to decide. Fight or flee? She glanced at the man, his face a mask of urgency. Every instinct screamed for her to bolt, to escape this nightmare. But what if she stayed? What if, by some miracle, they could outsmart their pursuers? Emily, listen. He snapped, breaking her trance. You need to grab some essentials. We might not get another chance. What do you mean essentials? She voiced her confusion as her gaze darted around her small studio apartment. Anything you can't live without. Your phone, some cash, clothes. But hurry. She nodded, her mind still foggy but adrenaline overriding her hesitation. She dashed into the bedroom, the cramped space echoing with the thud of her footsteps. Frantically, she snatched her wallet, shoving it into her pocket, and grabbed a hoodie from the chair. Come on, Emily. His voice was sharp, almost panicked now, and it jolted her into action. She sprinted back, and he was already at the window, peering through the blinds. They'll be here any second, he murmured, dread darkening his tone. She pressed her palms against the cool glass, catching a glimpse of dark figures closing in a cluster, determined and precise. They knew what they wanted, and all it took was a glimpse of their shadowy figures to realize she was standing at ground zero. As she turned breathless, the man had already located an escape route. A battered fire escape clung to the side of the building, rusted and creaky. We have to go down now. Are you serious? She shot back, skepticism mingling with fear. What if they already know? Then we climb, he inhaled sharply, eyes wide. You can do this. Forcing down thoughts of defeat, she gripped the window frame, swinging it open. The metal rungs seemed daunting, but the looming threat painted a very real picture. She had no time to hesitate. One step, then another. They descended in silence, each creak echoing ominously through the quiet night. Emily's heart pounded in her ears as she scanned their surroundings. Her breath came in sharp bursts, the chill of the night air hitting her skin like ice. The ground was still a few feet away, but she could see people walking on the street below, oblivious to the chase unfolding above them. Keep it quiet, he hissed just as a noise echoed from above. Relentless footsteps closing in. Panic surged through her veins, propelling her downward. She reached the last rung, feet hit the ground, and she turned to look at him still climbing down. Come on, she urged, grabbing his arm as he landed. As if the night were alive, they both froze when a new sound shattered the tension, a low hum and the faint thud of approaching vehicles. The Order's vehicles, no doubt, sweeping through the streets hunting for them. Suddenly nothing felt safe. What now? She whispered, her voice trembling. Into the alley. We need to blend in. He took her hand, pulling her toward the shadows where the light barely seeped. Emily caught a glimpse of the vehicles halting near the building, their headlights piercing through the darkness. She could feel her heart racing against the backdrop of impending doom. Her pulse echoing in her ears as panic threatened to swallow her whole. As they ducked behind a dumpster, she caught her breath. What do we do if they find us? Trust me, he whispered again, his raw sincerity weaving a thread of hope in the bleakness. Lay low and wait. We can't let them see us. But just then, a loud clang echoed through the alley. A dumpster tipped over not far from where they hid. Fear surged through Emily. The predators were getting closer, and their senses zeroed in on the very space they occupied now. I don't want to die like this, she gasped. Neither do I, he replied, his voice strained. But you need to believe there's a way out, I promise. Then as shadows moved closer, something deep unlocked within Emily. She wasn't just a girl anymore. She had a choice to make. The echoes of that realization engulfed her. But would choosing to fight lead her to salvation or sealed her fate forever? The alley felt like a tomb, the air thick with stale odors and fear. Emily's heart raced as she tried to steady her breath, her world narrowing to the sounds echoing in that moment. The distant growl of the engines reminded her they weren't safe yet. Do you hear that? She whispered, her eyes wide as she strained to listen. The crunch of gravel underfoot was becoming all too familiar. Was someone approaching? Stay low, he urged, his grip tightening around her wrist. The man's face was set, deep lines of worry etching his forehead. But there was a glimmer of determination in his eyes that made her realize they were in this together. He withdrew slightly, peeking around the edge of the dumpster. She could barely control the surge of panic rising in her chest. The shadows on the wall shimmered, the flickering light from the street casting ominous shapes. A narrow crack between the dumpster and the wall seemed like a potential escape, but the thought of crawling through it made her stomach churn suddenly. A voice broke through the tension. "Check there." It was hauntingly close. Emily felt her skin prickle as she ducked lower, her heart thudding against her ribcage like a frightened rabbit. The man beside her turned his head sharply, his expression unreadable as he surveyed their surroundings. "We can't stay here," he whispered urgently. "If they find us, they will find us." She breathed, terror lacing her words. "What do we do?" "Just follow my lead," he said, eyes darting, stealing a glance at the alley exit where faint silhouettes emerged. "We run when I say go." Emily swallowed hard as she worked through her objections. "What if they catch us? What if we don't even try?" He shot back, fueled by an adrenaline that lit a fire in Emily's belly. Fighting back tears, she nodded, gripping his hand tighter. Her body ached with the decision hanging so delicately in the balance between fight and flight. Just as she opened her mouth to suggest an alternative, the shadows moved closer, merging and separating like sinister wraiths. The scraping of boots against the ground sent bolts of icy panic racing through her. "Ready, go." He leaped forward, pulling her along with him. They burst from behind the dumpster like a pair of startled deer, feet pounding against the pavement, adrenaline consuming them both. The alley twisted and turned, cutting through the darkness like a slivered path paved with dread. Emily felt the rough ground underfoot, her breath serrated and jagged as she focused on putting one foot in front of the other. Her mind screamed for a plan, for safety, for a miracle. "Left," he commanded, and they veered sharply, dodging an open doorway. Inside, a flickering light emanated from a small diner. It was their only hope, a beacon glowing against the dark backdrop of their nightmare. They stumbled through the door, crashing into the dim interior. The warmth engulfed them, flickering neon lights making the space feel surreal, almost dreamlike after the chill of the night outside. "'Kay, what now?" Emily rasped, looking at the man, her emotions a jumbled mess of fear and confusion. "Stay here for a moment," he urged, his voice low and steady. "We'll need to think." But as they grasped for a moment of calm, the ringing of a bell announced a figure bursting through the diner entrance, a woman clad in black, eyes wild, icy with intent. "Where are they?" she hissed, surveying the room like a predator locked onto prey. Emily felt the dread crash over her again, her heart racing in time with the hope that flickered and danced away. The man squeezed her hand, his expression hardening. "They've found us," he breathed, staring down the barrel of chaos brewing in the diner. And now, with nowhere to run, Emily's pulse tripped even faster. Would this be the moment she wished she had fought harder? "Stay close," he warned as the door swung wide behind them, more dark figures forming a dangerous tableau. Who would come out of this chaos alive? And what secrets lay at the heart of their turmoil? The tension in the diner shifted like quicksand. Emily's eyes darted around the room, taking in the faces of the other patrons frozen in place, shock, fear, curiosity flickering across their features. The clinking of cutlery dropped to silence as those seated froze, their dinners abandoned, all eyes on the woman in black and the increasing threat behind her. "Are they here or not?" The woman snapped again, her voice sharp, slicing through the stifling air. "Please, we're just the diner's," waitress stumbled, hands raised as if to shield herself from the impending chaos. Her voice quivered, but her eyes were resolute as she faced the intruder. Emily felt her heart race. She could hear it pounding in her ears. This wasn't just about them anymore, it was about how far the tendrils of this nightmare had spread. The man beside her remained still, a rock in the tidal wave of panic. "Stick to the shadows," he mouthed, glancing towards the back of the diner, where a narrow corridor led to the restrooms and perhaps an escape route. Before Emily could respond, the woman's icy eyes locked onto them, narrowing as recognition dawned. "There!" she shouted, pointing a finger with a determined flourish. "Run!" he shouted, whipping Emily around as they bolted towards the hallway, hearts racing with urgency. He pushed her in front of him, each step pounding against the tiled floor echoing their desperation. They ducked into the narrow corridor, the sounds of chaos behind them muffled but not gone. "You have to keep moving," he urged, urgency draped in his voice. Emily felt her breaths come in quick, short gasps as they sprinted past the restrooms and down the dimly lit hall, the fluorescent lights buzzing like angry hornets. A moment later, the door behind them slammed open, the woman's footsteps echoing down the corridor like thunderclaps. Emily felt a pang of dread wash over her. Would they make it out? Keep going, he urged again, gripping her wrist as they skidded into a room that was dark and cluttered, an employee break room. Faded posters and mismatched furniture made it feel almost homely in the oppressive darkness. Where are we? Emily breathed, pushing back a rebellion of panic that threatened to topple her composure. Her mind raced with thoughts. Had they really escaped, or was this merely a momentary pause before the inevitable? He didn't answer right away, peering through the dirty window that overlooked the alleyway outside. We can hide here for a minute. Catch our breath. His voice dropped to a whisper, but the tightness of his shoulders told her he was far from relaxed. Emily pressed her back against the wall, fingers trembling as she fought to calm herself. She could almost hear the pounding of footsteps drawing closer. A threat like a storm rolling into town. What's going to happen? She managed to squeeze out, part of her desperate for reassurance. He leaned beside her, eyes scanning the darkness outside. If they catch us, I don't know what they'll do. His voice broke slightly, perhaps from the weight of their situation or his own fears. The thought sent a chill straight to her core. She shuddered at the possibilities, each worse than the last, each more haunting. I can't go back, she gasped. Not to that life. Not to the suffocating weight of fear that had plagued her. Neither can I, he replied, turning his gaze to meet hers. But this isn't the end. We have to be ready for whatever comes next. But just then, the door to the break room burst open, and the woman from the diner stepped in, flanked by two men with dark, hard faces. Emily's heart dropped, every instinct in her screaming to run, but there was nowhere left to hide. Got you now, the woman sneered, her lips twisting into a cruel smile. You thought you could escape that easily? Emily's breath hitched as the darkness closed in around them. Each moment stretched like an eternity, and she felt the weight of hopelessness suffocating her. Would they really lose themselves here, in this moment that should have been their salvation? What do they want? She whispered, trembling now, not just from fear, but an uncontrolled rage surging within her. The man beside her held her gaze, the fear in his eyes slowly replaced by a flicker of resolve. Whatever it is, we'll face it together, he declared, a steadying hand on her shoulder as their fate loomed in the face of the encroaching danger. Emily knew she had to muster every ounce of courage inside. But just as determination surged through her, the air was swept away by a sinister chuckle from the woman. Let us find out, shall we? And with that chilling statement echoing in her mind, Emily braced herself for the storm she knew was coming, unsure if the next moment would shatter them or finally release them from their hell. What dreadful truth would they uncover now? Emily's heart thudded against her ribcage as the woman's eyes gleamed with malevolence. The two men behind her stepped forward, their presence looming like storm clouds ready to burst. Here, in this dingy break room, her world had shrunk to just three people: herself, the man who had been her unexpected protector, and the shadowy figures who radiated dark intentions. So what will it be? The woman taunted, leaning closer, her face twisted into a mask of delight in their despair. You're cornered. Any last words? Get away from us. The man beside Emily snarled, but an edge of uncertainty crept into his voice. Emily felt him tense next to her, drawing strength from the urgency of the situation. Courage is cute, the woman smirked, rolling her eyes before stepping back slightly, regarding them both as if she were appraising a rare piece of art. But it's not going to save you. I have a lot of questions and you are going to answer them. Emily swallowed hard, her throat dry. Thoughts spiraled in her mind. What could they possibly know? What do you want from us? She finally managed, her voice trembling but defiant. The woman tilted her head, her dark hair cascading like a curtain of shadows. I want the truth, sweetheart. You've stumbled in on something much bigger than you realize. It's more than just your pathetic little secrets. The air thickened with an unsettling silence, and the man beside her shifted uneasily. We're not involved in anything. Just leave us alone, he pleaded, voice strained. No, not yet, the woman interrupted gleefully, stepping forward. You're already tangled in this web the moment you helped him escape. She pointed an accusing finger at him, her gaze sharp enough to cut. Emily's mind raced. Escape? What did that mean? Did they know about his past? But nothing made sense. Who are you? She demanded, her voice stronger than she felt. What do you really want? The woman's smile widened, like a hunter in the moment before the kill. Oh, that's the best part. It's not what I want. It's about what you both can give me. She glanced at her companions as if sharing an inside joke. You have something valuable. And you'll tell me where it is. What are you talking about? The man snapped, his voice thick with confusion and anger. The woman leaned in closer, her breath cold against Emily's face. You're not asking the right questions, dear. You should be wondering what will happen if you don't help me. Suddenly, the room was filled with the sharp clatter of metal as one of the men, taller and broader than the woman, flicked a knife tauntingly across the table. The shine of the blade glinted, sending a shock down Emily's spine. A primal instinct kicked in. Fight or flight. She glanced around the room, the dim light barely illuminating the scattered employee chairs and the harsh little tables. It felt like a cruel joke that they were trapped here, while the outside world continued unaware. You think you can intimidate us? Emily said, her voice steadying, surprising even herself. You don't know us at all. The woman laughed, sharp and cold. Oh, I know exactly who you are. You were so eager to run. But soon enough you'll realize running can only last so long. You're already chained to this fate. Fear churned in Emily's stomach, simmering like a pot ready to boil over. What are you talking about? She asked, desperation creeping in where bravado had bloomed moments before, and the tension-filled silence that followed. The woman's smile faded slightly. Let us just say, she drawled, raising an eyebrow suggestively, you two have more in common with the world I come from than you think. What does that even mean? Emily pressed, her heart racing. The woman glanced at her companions, sharing a meaningful look before pivoting back to Emily and her protector. You'll find out soon enough. I can give you a choice. Help me or everything you dread will come crashing down on you. Before Emily could respond, there was a loud bang from the entrance of the break room. The heavy door swung wide open, revealing another figure, a man with sharp features and blazing eyes, standing in the doorway just as the tension reached a breaking point. Stop right there, he shouted, voice booming. Emily's breath caught in her throat. Who was this new arrival? Would he be their savior or their downfall? As they stood frozen in fear, she realized this was more than just a confrontation. It was a collision course that would determine all their fates. The moment hung heavy in the air, and the question loomed in her mind. Would they find their way out, or would they all be swept into darkness together? The sudden roar of the man's voice shattered the fragile silence, awakening a surge of adrenaline in Emily's veins. She stood paralyzed, her heart racing as the newcomer surveyed the scene with cold, calculating eyes. The woman in front of her faltered, confusion flickering across her face. Who the hell are you? The woman demanded, stepping back, her bravado momentarily shaken. I'm the one who's going to make sure the past doesn't catch up to you, the man declared, his tone low and menacing, framing the words like promises and threats all at once. Emily's thoughts raced. What did he know? Would he truly intervene? Or was he just another player in this twisted game? The tension in the room thickened, each second pounding like a war drum in her chest. Get out of this, Kyle, the woman shouted, eyeing him with disdain. This is none of your business. It just became my business the moment you threatened them, Kyle shot back, taking a deliberate step forward. The broad man behind the woman tightened his grip on the knife, ready to react. The glint of the blade caught Emily's eye, reminding her of the imminent danger. She felt the air grow heavier. Would they react violently? Would she have to fight for her life? With a sudden motion, the woman snapped her fingers, breaking the stalemate. Enough of this charade. If you think you can save them, you're sorely mistaken. She turned back to Emily, her voice dripping with malice. You know nothing of the danger you've walked into. But I can bet you will learn. I don't need to learn anything from a psychopath like you. Emily shot back, her words coming out sharper than expected. The woman smiled, that predatory grin that sent chills racing down Emily's spine. Oh, but it's not about what you learn. It's what you're going to lose if you don't comply. She gestured to her men, and they moved closer, strangely synchronized, their movements a choreographed dance of intimidation. Kyle's posture shifted as he assessed the brewing conflict, muscles taut, brows furrowed. "Listen, I won't let this go down without a fight," he said, planting his feet firmly on the ground. "But will you fight for the right reasons?" The woman countered, narrowing her eyes. "You know as well as I do that everyone has a price. It's just a matter of finding what motivates them." Emily glanced at Kyle, searching his face for an answer. Was this the time for bravado, or was retreat essential? What kind of price were they being asked to pay? The stakes were high, and her gut twisted with the knowledge that their lives hung in balance. "Enough. If you want what I have, you'll have to take it from me," Kyle challenged, lifting his chin defiantly. His determination clashed with the edge of fear in the atmosphere. Shock evident on the woman's face quickly morphed into a wicked grin. "Oh, I intend to. But first let us see how far you are willing to go." Before anyone could react, she lunged forward, her fingers outstretched, aiming for a pin on the table, the glint of metal a glimmer of impending chaos. "Look out!" Emily screamed, but it was too late. A scream tore through the room, piercing and raw as the tension exploded. In that moment the world shifted, lives were irrevocably changed, and secrets that were meant to stay buried began surfacing. And just like that, the calm of the break room dissolved into a frenzied fight for survival. Emily's instincts surged, but what lay ahead was uncertain. Outside these walls, would they find the answers or merely curse the choices that had led them here? As the chaos unfurled, Emily's heart raced. Everything was on the line now. The line between friend and enemy blurred, and trust became a dangerous gamble. Would they emerge unscathed, or be swallowed whole by the darkness that loomed ever closer? The echoes of desperation filled her ears as she found herself racing against time. What choice would she make next? Emily's scream was swallowed by a deafening clash of bodies in chaos as the woman lunged forward. The metal pin glinted dangerously in the air, a weapon in the making. In an instant, Kyle's reflexes kicked in. He rushed forward, a blur of motion fueled by desperation. "Stop!" he shouted, reaching to block the woman's path. But she was quick, an embodiment of madness fueled by a twisted purpose. She dodged him and was upon Emily in the blink of an eye. Her hand closing around Emily's wrist, fear boiled within Emily. She yanked her arm back, barely escaping the grip. The woman hissed with frustration, baring her teeth in a feral snarl as both men moved in to protect Emily. The broad man stepped up, wielding the glinting knife with the ease of a dancer. "Stand down," Kyle warned, his voice a low growl. The atmosphere crackled with tension as they formed a protective half-circle around Emily. Now's not the time to show weakness, she thought, her heart pounding in her chest. But the woman only laughed, a sound that chilled Emily's bones. "Protect her all you want, Kyle. She doesn't know who she's dealing with. This is bigger than both of you, and now I'm feeling generous. I'll give you one chance to walk away." "Not a chance," Kyle replied, jaw clenched, eyes locked onto the woman's with fiery determination. The urgency of the showdown filled the air with a heavy weight, each second feeling like an eternity. Emily scanned the room, searching for an opening, for anything that could help them. The bright fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows, distorting the faces around her into menacing masks. Suddenly the air shifted. A loud crash erupted from the far end of the break room, as if the building itself were groaning under the pressure. Everyone froze, eyes darting towards the source of the disturbance. The intensity of the moment hung suspended in the haze of tension. "Get ready," Kyle shouted, eyes widening. Before anyone could move, the room erupted in movement. The woman lunged at Kyle, but he sidestepped her, swinging his arm to knock her off balance. Emily felt the surge of adrenaline hit her like a tidal wave, igniting her instincts. As the chaos swirled around her, she spotted the gleam of a fire extinguisher on the wall. "Cover me," she yelled, lunging toward the extinguisher as she grasped the handle. The metal felt cold against her palms, but it fueled her resolve. In that moment of clarity, a plan formed. She needed to blind them. "Hold on," she shouted again, bracing for whatever was about to happen. Kyle held his ground, wrestling with the broad man who now aimed the knife at him, while Emily prepared to unleash the extinguisher. With a swift twist, she pulled the trigger, a white cloud bursting forth and filling the room. Chaos erupted anew. The thick foamy spray coated everything, obscuring vision and turning the fray into a chaotic scene of flailing arms and frantic footsteps. "Emily!" Kyle's voice cut through the chaos. Stay close. But as she fought to navigate through the cloud, everything blurred and disoriented. She saw only shadows moving in the mist, unsure who was friend and who was foe. Then it came a scream, high-pitched and panicked, echoing throughout the room, ripping her focus away from Kyle. Was it him? Was it the woman? In that moment of confusion, a sudden weight slammed into her side, sending her staggering against the cold tile. The fight could turn at any second, and dread coiled in her stomach. The battle raged on, but what would remain of them when it faded? Emily's breath hitched. They needed to escape, but escape to what, and at what cost? The fire alarm blared, piercing through the chaos, adding another layer to the rising tension. Outside, sirens wailed, and she realized they were running out of time. Would help arrive in time to save them, or would they be crushed by the weight of their own choices? The moment was fleeting but heavy, each second carrying the potential for devastation. As the fire extinguisher sputtered its last breath, all eyes turned to Emily, awaiting her next decision. In the gathering shadows, an even darker question loomed. Could they trust anyone, or were they doomed to face the truth alone? The adrenaline was electric, swirling around Emily as she took stock of their perilous situation. The clamor of the alarm melded with the chaotic shouts and muffled cries already spiraling out of control. She felt disoriented, a whirlwind of shadows and movement wrapped around her like a thick fog. As the cloud from the extinguisher began to settle, she could see Kyle still grappling with the broad man, their silhouettes tumbling aimlessly through the chaos, the gleam of the knife flashing dangerously. "Kyle!" she shouted, her voice raw with urgency. "We need to move now." But he was locked in a dance of desperation, fighting against the woman's mounted aggression directed not just at him, but at Emily too. The air felt charged, electrified with fear and uncertainty, and Emily's instincts kicked into gear. With a flicker of resolve, she aimed for the exit. "This way." The woman caught her movement and lunged, but Emily was faster. She ducked beneath the swiping arm, adrenaline propelling her forward. Kyle's voice split through the sound of the alarm, echoing, "Go, Emily. Go." The exit loomed ahead, a gateway to freedom, but it was not without its own set of dangers. Just as Emily reached for the handle, she turned back to glimpse Kyle. He was wrestling against the broad man, both of them tumbling to the ground, and then a flash. In a horrifying instant, the woman drew her own weapon, and Emily's heart sank. "No!" she screamed, panic surging through her veins as she watched. The world slowed around her. "No!" She wouldn't let him fall, not after everything they'd been through. With a racing heart, she turned back, resolved not to let fear drive her anymore. She raced to where they struggled on the floor, the woman's weapon glinting under the flickering lights. "Emily, get out!" Kyle's voice strained through the commotion, but her feet wouldn't let her abandon him. Desperation surged within her, fueling a reckless instinct. She shoved the extinguisher aside, scrambling to intercept the woman before it was too late. In an act of sheer courage, she lunged forward. "Get away from him!" she yelled, latching onto the woman's arm. The force of her weight surprised them both, disrupting the balance that threatened to tip in the woman's favor. With a thud, Kyle kicked out, sending the broad man reeling. Emily seized the moment. Adrenaline flooded her as she dug deep, the bond they'd forged in this nightmare filling her with strength. "You don't control our fate," she shouted fiercely. Kyle rolled and jumped up beside her, breathing heavy, heart racing. Now they stood together, united against the opposition. She locked eyes with him and saw the determination mirrored on his face. Together, he panted, gripping her hand tightly. Before they could react, sirens wailed closer, the sound reverberating through the diner like the heartbeat of a world ready to intervene. The woman, her confidence shaken, momentarily stepped back, eyes wide with realization. "You think you'll escape?" she spat, but the fire in her voice flickered. "This ain't over." "We'll see about that," Emily shot back, squeezing Kyle's hand tighter. As they retreated through the diner door, the world outside beckoned a siren song of safety and possibility. The streetlights illuminated the night like a spotlight of hope. With one last glance at their pursuers, dark and monstrous, they bolted onto the street, feeling the rush of freedom wash over them. The cool night air filled Emily's lungs as they plunged into the embrace of the city. They ran, hearts in sync, leaving the chaos behind them. "Where do we go?" Emily shouted, urgency still gnawing at her. Anywhere but where we were, Kyle replied, pulling her along, determination etched in his features. The pursuit might not be over, but in that moment they had a chance. A flicker of hope to cling to in the naked dark. Days passed as they wandered the city, evading the shadowy figures of the order and piecing together the threads of the danger they had stumbled into. Every alley they turned brought more clarity, but also fresh fears. Emily chose to take the fight to them. Eventually, they uncovered the truth buried beneath layers of conspiracy. The pieces Kyle had stolen were more than just trinkets. They were secrets meant to shake the very foundation of power. And in revealing them, they could dismantle a stronghold built on deception and the final confrontation. With light cutting through the darkness, they faced the remnants of the order, armed not just with weapons but with an unwavering resolve to reclaim their lives. And when it was all over, when they had dismantled the hold over them, Emily stood hand in hand with Kyle, looking at the skyline. The sun rose, casting warm golden light across the city. The weight felt lighter, the echoes of fear fading like a distant storm. They turned to each other, knowing they had fought for something bigger than themselves. They had chosen to face the darkness together, and in that choice bloomed a bond unbreakable, a sense of purpose that would carry them forward. Emily smiled, tears glimmering with hope. You ready for the next adventure? We make our own, Kyle replied, squeezing her hand firmly. And as they walked into the dawn, ready to face whatever came next, Emily knew she had become more than just a girl. You could feel the spark in the air, a fierce spirit of possibility igniting into the horizon, welcoming their allegiance to the future ahead. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories waiting just for you. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this thrilling conclusion. And for goodness sake, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. You have no idea how much it means to support this channel. Don't wait even one more second to share.